Greetings, weary travelers. Come, warm yourself by the fire and let us regale you with mighty tales, tales of adventure, tales of heroism, tales of Tamriel. I am your host, Aggelos, and I am back in the main chair, and I am joined by Lotus of Doom. How are you, sir?
I am good. We are fully in control again.
We are.
Ark will regret this.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Arkhaniir is not here today because he is busy at his coronation. He has overthrown Queen Irene of the Aldmeri Dominion as he was voted most Altmer, and therefore he is being crowned King of the High Elves. Actually, King of all elves. It's amazing. We didn't get
all of
invited.
Somerset.
Yeah.
No, we did not.
No, because we're Nords.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And also, he's pretty much adopted all the Guars to the, Somerset Isles, to his home kingdom, trying to take them away from the rest of us. Yep. But, we still love you, Ark, even though, you're completely corrupt at this point.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's
shameful.
I think he pretty much turned all of Somerset into a Guar haven, and it's just full of Guars now. It's amazing. Yeah, so there you go. All hail the king. All hail the king, Arkhaniir. So, King of the elves.
King of the elves. Yep.
All right. We got a fun show planned for you guys tonight because Lotus and I have done a lot of adventuring within Tamriel this week, and I mean a lot. I am still shaking the Argonian crap off my boots. It's not great.
You shook off all the Argonian crap, and I walked it right into finishing Somerset.
Nice.
So we really are just covering everything that we make fun of Ark for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Got the two zones or our entire tales.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. We also have some news which may light a fire under almost the entire community's rear end, it seems like, at this point, with some controversial patch notes. Skill lines are now being added to the Crown Store, so there you go. And Blades is having a 2x experience event. So that's actually probably the only positive thing we'll probably talk about tonight.
Yeah, that'll... But if you want to bring that down a notch too, you could just look at that tweet and then all the responses to it because everybody's just bitter.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got a show, but before we do that, we got to thank all of those who support us each and every month over at patreon.com/Dungeon Crawler Network, as well as our subscribers here on Twitch. You guys are amazing. You help keep our metaphorical torches lit, our bellies full of mead, and Arkhaniir in Guar leather. It's great. And also, anyone who does support us there gets access to all of our shows at least 24 hours early. At least. Sometimes even longer. So, little perk for you guys. There you go. Anyway, we do have some iTunes reviews because those people help support us out as well. First up, we got Rob the DK. Love this podcast. I listen to several ESO podcasts, but this one is easily my favorite, with the information mixed with the banter of the host. Love TOT and is a must listen while at work. Thank you, Rob the DK. We also had a second 5-star review from Crasher28, new listener here. Been enjoying the show. I'm an Xbox opening day player. Took a long break, came back and found your channel while on the hype train. Keep up the great work, guys. Really enjoy the show. Thank you so much, Crasher28. And we have some drunken hobo over here called Neonato134 who says, I like to listen to Tales sometimes. This is not a 5-star review. And he says, tell Ark he's better than Aggelos. You can tell he's drunk because he misspelled my name. But I bet you he plays an Altmer too.
That hilarious thing. It's going to say, from the PS4 side of things, figure Ark can get one shining note in this episode.
I'm pretty sure that this guy is nothing but an elf. So,
or Ark secretly in disguise.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So there
what
you
do they
go.
have, the eyes of the queen or whatever. So I was gonna say, he's
Eyes of the Queen. So what would this be? The ears of the king because he's appointed
I
knife
think it'd
here?
be the ears of the king because
Yeah.
he's the new knife here, and now it's back to kingdom.
Love it. Anyway, moving on down the line, we have a behind the scenes update, and that is I'm in charge. So you're going to have a fun episode. I promise you that. Okay. Let's just go ahead and jump right on in to our tales. I'm going to let Lotus go first.
All right. I will so I had postponed listening to an episode way back for quite a while when you guys discussed the spoilers to Somerset, because I had not completed Somerset. Had done some of the stuff with it, and along the way I've been trying to catch up so that I can get into Elsewhere so that we can discuss it on the show. It'll be a little weird if I can't discuss the thing eventually when spoilers are, doable in a month or so. So I figured, like you, I like to do things somewhat in order. And I realized there was mostly side quests in Somerset that I hadn't finished. And also, apparently, the very final quest. And I just thought I had done it because it had been spoiled for me. So I knew what the ending was, making me think I had done it myself. And I actually had not. So just an FYI, this will involve some Somerset spoilers. I won't try to just ruin everything or whatever. But I have now officially cleared Somerset, everything except the museum collection thingy. I still got to find more of that junk. That's sort of a quest, but I like doing those when I'm in party chat with people because I'm not paying attention to a story or anything, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But that was a super fulfilling quest line. I liked it quite a bit.
I think we could talk about it. It's been a year since it's been out.
And I mean, you did have kind of the spoiler episode, but you guys even still tried to be nice about it as best as possible. You weren't overtly spoiling stuff, but I would think another expansion has come out at this point. So
right.
Over a year.
Right.
The Darian Gautier thing. That dude is very cool. He's a great character.
I like him, but his personality has changed a lot from the Darian we knew prior.
He still had a lot of it, like the I forget what person, what rank she was in the Sijic Order, but the one he even kept making kind of nods to, don't worry, I'll be back, I promise. He still has that
little swagger.
Yeah, to him that I find makes him pretty funny. But I agree, after the Meridia thing, he became a little more stoic and a little less roguey, I guess you could.
Yeah. He lost that debonair
a little bit
feeling,
Yeah. But I ended up liking the mix between him and Lathan, the kind of turncoat Sijic. I liked that because at first I thought that guy was kind of a douche, and then as it went on, I liked how he interacted with a lot of things. For the main story as they go up the tower. On a note, not specifically to either of them, but the amount of people they killed in the story completing Somerset, I was a little thrown off by, because I was like, whoa, okay, we're just often main characters left and right here. Which I did enjoy, just because I was like, okay, well, that certainly was unexpected. However, that brings me to something that was a huge downer, and something that I've never encountered before. I don't know if you have or anybody else has in chat. Have you ever logged out in an instanced zone that is main path critical story?
No, I can't say I have, because anytime I've been in the main path critical story, I'm pretty much engaged.
Invested.
Yeah.
So am I usually. Well, something came up in my ascent up the Crystal Tower.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, crap, I gotta go. So I got to an area where I was safe or whatever. I was like, okay, I'll just log out here and I'll come back. Apparently, that is a huge no-no in this game, which I find weird because these quests are pretty involved. It does not save any of your progress on the quest.
Really?
It will unzone you all the way back to a center hub and undo the story choices you make.
Wow.
So it didn't ruin it for me. I won't say that, but this is where things are going to get spoilery because I need to kind of like address some of the things that.
Yeah.
So when Lathan basically saves doesn't save the Sapiarch, but he like kind of puts her mind at peace when she's dying. I had gone past that. I had built the ballista to knock down the wall to keep scaling the tower, which, by the way, I thought that was awesome that they incorporated the siege mechanic into the campaign for like the first time ever. I was like, that's like really cool. And then when Lathan shocks open the door and he goes too far from the time crystal thing, so he gets technically torn between worlds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't that because it's our fault? Like we touch it, it's like,
yeah. He gets us through the door, but to do that, he bolts across the room, which while we're going for the door, gets him out of the zone. Yeah. So he gets torn apart. So I log back in. He's alive again. And we're back at the bottom of the tower where I have to do all of these quest steps again.
It's sort of like the butterfly effect where you're like, this isn't going to end well for you, buddy, just so you know.
Right. That kind of sucked. Because one, that quest is long and it's really cool. I liked it a lot.
It is.
I'm not necessarily what I could call like a super immersion person where like, it has to be immersive. I like that, but that took me out of it a bit. Like that was lame that I came back in expecting to be like, okay, I'm most of the way up the tower. And no, I haven't even gone into Clavicus Vile's realm. I'm completely outside. It was like, So that put a damper on that, to be perfectly honest. That kind of sucked, actually. I really did not like that because it undid essentially 20 minutes of me scaling the tower and doing all these things. And it was like a little less impactful doing it the second time because then when I'm rushing, I was going too fast. So I wasn't triggering the dialogue sequences in order. So when you get the key, I just ran over to where the key was, grabbed the key, bolted up the stairs, went there. They're still waiting downstairs for me to trigger the dialogue sequence.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, God, this is terrible. So I had to then slow roll back up the tower. I couldn't even blink, which I was like, oh, boy. So, guys, never log out mid-quest. If you don't have time for it, don't start it. That's all I can give you as kind of a heads up going forward. Because I felt, as much as I enjoyed it, man, that was lame. That was super lame.
Right. No, it's... I can only imagine... Yeah, at that point in time, it's like you've seen half the movie and you want to skip ahead to catch up. But when you do that, it messes with everything else.
Yeah, it was just... I don't know. Like I said, it was definitely a downer. And it took away some of the impact of the storyline, which, one, I thought that was actually a really fulfilling conclusion. They also kind of, I don't know whether it was... their story team seems pretty on point. So I like the fact that it seemed weird that the Daedric princes were working together since they're notorious for not doing that. And then them all trying to backstab each other. It's just Nocturnal kind of got there first. Ended up being their undoing. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. Like, I like that.
Can we talk a little bit about the plot thread that carried all the way over from Morrowind?
Yes. So far, I've liked the Season of the Dragon, the way things tie in. You'll discover that soon enough, now that you'll be able to do the dungeons. But I like the carry through. Like, that's cool. And holy crap, that was a long carry through.
Yeah.
You could tell that was planned out for a long, long time. And it's like, man, that is... I mean, essentially, when you think about it, I mean, Morrowind really kicked it into gear, but you even have that the Vanis thing at the end of Hrothgar, where he kind of... So it's like, that was... What is that? 3.5 years
Mm-hmm.
of telling one long story thread. Now, granted, Dark Brotherhood and stuff like that kind of nods to it, but not direct things. Whereas like Clockwork City, Morrowind, those were just like, okay, this is strong setup for the next thing that's about to happen.
Right.
I love that. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, like,
and it had a good payoff in the end. Like I liked how that story.
Albeit, I feel like it sort of well, I guess it doesn't invalidate your choice, and yet it does, because for those who don't know, the main bad guy, besides it being Minfala, is her champion, who was what's her face? Everyone's favorite sexy elf.
Yeah.
Why am I drawing a blank on her?
Yeah, I was gonna say. God, Naryu.
Naryu. Yeah, her apprentice.
Yes. Yes.
Who at the end of is it part of the main storyline, or is it a side quest?
Yes. So it's the storyline in Balmora, but you need to do the Balmora storyline to gain the favor of House Red.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, that's why it's technically a main quest, even though it's a side quest.
Right. There's essentially a scene in there where she's deemed the bad guy.
Yes.
She commits a murder without it being sanctioned, and therefore you need to punish her. And you get to choose whether or not you want her dead or alive to be sent away. And I chose to kill her.
I did as well.
And if you do that, Naryu gets all pissed at you and acts all like, all hurt about it. And here in the end, she didn't do it anyway.
I know. She said she kind of like roughed her up a little, but left her alive, which I was like, oh, interesting. Like, I'm wondering if that will be addressed at some point. Because it was funny when I saw her again. I was like, oh, okay. With the Sai Sahan thing in the previous three, I was like, what's happening? It's like, but this one.
The difference between Sai Sahan, though, and this one is you don't actually see her being killed. Naru says, I'll do it. And then you leave the room, and then you meet her afterwards.
I use Sai Sahan's essence to beat Molag Bal.
You literally see him disintegrate into... So there's a little bit of a difference there.
Right.
But that was...
So I'm still waiting to see how that all comes about. But again, much like the patch notes, I'll wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, but unfortunately, unlike the patch notes, this might actually have a more pleasant, payoff in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Now, see, I really liked... Did you find all of her journal notes in Somerset?
Yes. So I was finding those along the way, which actually was going to bring me to the other thing that you guys mentioned. And I heard it, and I wonder if I even would have heard it if it wasn't for you guys bringing it up on the Somerset spoiler cast, was the guards arbitrarily talking off to the side about a book materializing in the top of the throne room, and it's the final journal of Darius and him being lost in the colored rooms. That is super cool and like a really neat Easter egg. That I mean, you hear the guards talking with each other, but I mean, a lot of people just run by that banter without thinking about it. That's like a very cool Easter egg that I liked upon completion of that.
A lot of the banter, though, and I can see why some people do it, but a lot of the banter comes off as, how do I want to say it? It's the same quote over and over.
Yes. Yeah. It's a dialogue loop that's just kind of happening in the game.
And the dialogue changes based on what you've done, which is neat to hear them talking about. Absolutely. Did you hear about the hero of Balmora? It's like, oh yeah, that was me.
Right. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Because that's me, and I rule.
You happen to mention it. Well, this guy,
wearing a Hero of Balmora shirt, yeah, I have heard about that guy.
Yeah. Signing autographs, kissing babies. Yeah,
exactly.
Did you hear about the Hero of Balmora? Do you want me to sign your head?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I can understand how people would miss that, but kind of knowing that existed. I mean, I do listen to that stuff. I'll decent. I don't know if I'm quite as meticulous as you are when you go through like dungeons and stuff like that. But I do like to go and slow roll the stuff to get the stories, and then I'll nuke the stuff later, unless I'm doing it like blind for some reason with people or something on stream. But on the note of them saying stuff, man, mine all kind of tie together real easy. On the note of them knowing about things and stuff like that, after clearing Somerset, I went back, I don't know, to do my writs or something.
Okay.
And I had a random quest just in the Davin's Watch, or it was just chilling. I had a quest that hadn't been done. And I'm like, where is this thing? So I'm walking around, and it turns out it's in the Mages Guild. And I go in, and it's, what is it, that Vanis Galarian guy?
Oh, yeah, the guy who was voted not as Altmer as Arkhaniir. Yeah.
I apparently never did the Somerset Prologue quest.
Really? And this is why I was hammering you in Discord going, now how again does this go after Murkmire?
I know. Dude, don't know how I missed this thing. The funniest part is, so I do it. He knows I've already saved Somerset.
Isn't that about the time Fallout 76 came out?
Yes, I think it was. I think it's somewhere around there. The hype cycle had started for that, so I think that's where I might have gotten lost in the shuffle.
Because you've always been like, and when that prologue came out, it was literally like, well, for you guys, it was like a month of you got the prologue and then you waited to get Somerset.
The actual thing. So that's the thing. So when I'm talking to him, he's like, oh, there's a disruption on Somerset. There's these shadows. So he's leading me through, like, you've got to deal with the Oracle. That's her name. Like the Oracle that's dealing with the Sigics. And so I do that, whatever. I get to the end of it. The prologue thing was fine. And he's like, yeah, so we should travel to Somerset. And my response is essentially, yeah, don't worry, it's good, dude. And I was like, oh my God, they account for you not doing the prologue quest until after you beat the story. He's like, oh, I'm glad to see everything worked. It like knew that I did the story. And I was
really?
like, okay, that's really cool and super unexpected. Like, yeah, I was like, oh, I've already been to Artaeum. I've met the Sigics. He's like, oh, fantastic. I'm glad it all worked out.
Oh, well, like, then you don't need to know any of this then. I just wasted breath for nothing. Thank you.
Right. So, side note, because we do kind of, not just us, but a lot of people call out when they miss something. It's like, oh, I wish that guy knew me or whatever. I wish they made more reference. Side note, I cannot believe he recognized that I had done a decent amount of Somerset. It was like, yeah, man. All right, cool. You saved everybody. Good work.
I see in chat, Dr. Who. I love the continuity there. You're like, yeah, that's pretty amazing that they did that.
That was pretty crazy to me.
It's kind of like when new people in our community or in our guild are like, I'm going to try ESO. I'm going to start with Morrowind. I'm like, if you do that, then Naryu's not really going to know you the same way. Because there's no continuity within to go backwards.
Right.
So if you do Morrowind, our Dark Brotherhood, that's even a better one.
Yeah,
and then go
Dark
back.
Brotherhood one.
The Dark Brotherhood one's the best because you can actually like flirt with her a little bit, and she gets all like kinky with you, and I love her for that.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you go back to Deshawn. She doesn't recognize you. It's like,
right.
We just do I not mean anything to you? Because we were just flirting up a storm, and apparently you must have been drunk because you don't remember me, and I feel bad.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
So that's like the majority of what I've done, because otherwise I have not really had a chance to play Shadow Key or whatever because of the 4th of July. I wasn't around as much, so I usually play that in the morning before I head to work, just because it's easier to play on the couch or whatever. So I'll be probably back to that on a more regular basis and have tragic updates. My adventures there afterwards. But otherwise, really all I have done is a bunch of Elsewhere dailies, which are shareable, which is lovely. You don't need to complete the main quest to work on dailies, which is, please keep that up. Do not make me do storylines to then unlock a repeatable that I have to do 30 times for an achievement. let me just do the repeatable whenever. Because I like going into a zone and it gets me around the zone, so I get the hang of it while just doing the repeatables.
Oh,
That's kind of
gotcha.
how I like. Yeah, that's kind of how I like to do it.
Well, then I hate to tell you about Murkmire because.
Oh yeah, I know that was. Trust me, the first two, fine, and then you have that third one with the. Yeah, I know. That popped up at the end. It was like, oh my god, there's another one that I now have to start from 1 to 30.
Yeah, and you're already done with the zone and just want to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because I had the first two completed and then found out about the third one. And Clockwork had the same thing with those damn birds. where you had to collect the trash.
Right.
That was
but the Court of Crows is great.
Oh, I like the Court of Crows, but I didn't like the fact that I didn't know they were there until you were 7 of 8 quests through the whole zone.
Right.
Like main quest wise.
Right.
So I like the option because they added the dragon hunts where you just basically kill 3 dragons a day. And that, the others are the Delve clear and the World Boss clear. So that's fine. They all share, except the dragon one freaks out. Sometimes you can share it, sometimes you can't. We don't know what changes that. If anybody knows, let me know, because we can't figure it out. Like, we go as a group of like 5 of us. No idea why some people can share it and other people can't. And there's only one version of it: kill 3 dragons. I don't get it.
Could be. Well, never mind. I was gonna say it could be a conflicting add-on, but that doesn't mean anything to you guys.
Not on us console chuds. Nope. So the only other thing, which I feel like you probably won't be able to help with, but I want to throw it out there in case anybody can actually respond to me, is the end of the Somerset quest.
Okay.
Where you need to convince the Sapiarchs to reset up the wards because they're destroyed and you don't really want the Crystal Tower just like swinging its doors wide open. They don't want to work with the Sigic Order. They don't want to talk to you because you're an outsider. And basically Raz is like, okay, well, we're going to listen to him because he does care about Somerset. Here's why. And he parades in a bunch of people that you've helped in side quests. Like, oh, he saved me, here, and so found this, and he discovered this murder, and it's like going through all the people that I helped in my side quest.
Okay.
Do you know, is that based on what side quests you actually do? I did them all first, so I don't.
Yes.
I didn't know. Okay, so like, if you didn't do any and just did the main quest, would you be like, yes? So here's,
I've never not done any.
Like,
I've always done like a handful, and it's definitely like on my main it was everybody, but on alts it was fewer people. And I think there's probably a voice line if you just did the main story that he's like, yeah, he's trusted by the queen. He essentially helped do all of this.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious on that because when they were parading in all the people, I was like, oh, I remember you. I remember you from that house of the masks and stuff like that. Even they were coming in. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is actually pretty cool. I was like, I wonder if this is because I actually did all of it.
It is.
Which I assumed it was. Okay, cool.
It is.
Neat. Then that's actually really cool that factors in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So, I've been playing a lot of ESO this week. Like, a lot. Like, 20 hours plus of ESO this week. In order to finish up Murkmire. Because Murkmire has been a massive drag for me. And I got to tell you, though, by the time you get through like the first 3 quests, there's only like 7 quests, and the last quest doesn't even mean anything. It's really kind of it's kind of like, oh, you've done everything. You should just go over and say hi and see how it all turned out. So literally, the last 2 quests really get you involved. All right, to the point where I had to finish the entire thing. Like it got neat. It started.
Dude, I'm telling you, I was shocked that happened to me too. That's why I literally didn't know how to say it to you without spoiling it either. Because I'm like, this is so unbelievable. Because I was in the same boat. I'm like, it's fine. Like,
well, I think the thing that most interests me is at that point you start to find out what the remnant of Argon really is, and you actually find out that the remnant of Argon is the collective, and this blew my mind. Don't forget to tell you. All right, I won't forget. All right, so you got the remnant of Argon, which is essentially a condensed ball of tree sap from a history that contains all the souls of a lost tribe of Argonians called the Root Whisper tribe. The aliens, which is it kicked up because I'm like, the aliens were here, okay, to try to attack them. They moved south into Argonia, and they have all these underground structures. And I love the aliens because they're, again, one of those elven races that had disappeared off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. So that's always interesting to me to, like when you have the Dwemer ruins, the alien, empty alien, it's fantastic. Aliens, we know what happened to them. Yeah, the snow elves. Looking past these extinct civilizations is something that's really neat. So you kind of have to follow through this entire storyline. You get thrown into some weird MC Escher kind of thing when you start going through gateways, the alien gateways.
Yeah, the floating gateways within gateways was super weird.
And it's all on pathways. You definitely
die if you jump off them.
Oh, do you? Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to jump from different ones to different. You can make 0 of the jumps, or at least I can with my lacking skills. And yeah, you just teleport to the platform, super dead, and sands a soul gem and 10% damage to all your gear.
Nice. But that was so neat. The MC Escher area where you're like,
it looked awesome.
What do you see here to his apprentice? Gates? Yeah, that was really cool. And then, what was the other thing that was, all right. Going back, the Argonians were being attacked by the aliens, and the aliens wanted their souls. They were sucking their souls out, and they were doing all this magic. But then, do you remember the scene when the apprentice comes in to, I can't remember the leader's name, doesn't really matter, and saying that the souls have disappeared? He's like, how do you lose a soul?
Mm-hmm.
The history called the souls back. They were taken and got the souls called back. Does that mean that the history has complete control over the souls of Argonians, that even if an Argonian is captured in a Daedric realm, such as Hircine turning into a werewolf, that a history at its whim can literally pull the Argonian soul back out of the grips of anyone?
I know. Histories creep me out, man. Like, I'm waiting to find, because there's always little inklings of how powerful they are or stuff like that. And they don't go excessively into them a lot of the times, but they're both powerful. And also, the whole hive mind thing with their freaky powers is kind of, I don't know, it's really creepy, because I wonder how much like free will Argonians actually have, because they seem like tethered to these things like well beyond any comprehension of their own control.
And you actually see that with the Imperial Argonian lady, whatever her name is. She's one of the bad guys. Spoiler. She was cut off from the history. Like, all the other Argonians are like, you're walking around and they're like, yeah, what's up? Oh, no, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the history. What? Oh, yeah, can't you hear him?
Yeah, can't you hear it? It's like, no, and you're freaking me out, man.
And that's what was driving her nuts, is that she was so cut off. She's like, I can't hear the hiss.
Yeah. And she gets like freaky depressed really quick, like as soon as she's like, it's just silent. Like,
she's cut off from her deity.
Right. Yep.
I mean, essentially, that's what it is. They're not talking to her anymore, or she was cut off for whatever reason, or they don't actually explain it. And I think I remember at one point it talked about the hiss being able to like withdraw if they don't have enough sap in them. Like, there's things that they can do. It's really neat. And then there's still the possibility of a history going rogue, breaking away from the hive mind.
Like the sleeping tree in Skyrim or whatever, with the sleeping tree sap, that rogue one that it's just like, yep, that one. why is that trying to basically brainwash random people throughout the province of Skyrim? It's like, why is that one trying to brainwash the people of Skyrim? Like, what's going on with all that?
And then there's the one in the Root Tree Village, which isn't dead but looks dead.
Yes.
Because it's funneling all its energy to keep these souls alive. Then there's the one in Lilmoth in the book. The books. The Infernal City books. That history went rogue.
So huge shout out to Camelworks on YouTube for actually teaching me this. The sleeping tree in Skyrim, that is the rogue hist from the books. You can actually tie them together through dialogue in the game.
You can?
Yes. Ysolda, the one who can buy and deal with the sleeping tree set, the notes you find, you can actually trace back that she's the drug dealer, and she makes reference to them finding the tree based on an island that once floated by and dropped debris down into Skyrim that nobody believes exists anymore. I'll link you the video. It's
Please do.
And it's like a half an hour long of him explaining it, and like no one knows its meaning, and it's never been addressed in the series, but it's like super creepy, all the stuff that surrounds it.
Mind equals blown now. Okay.
Yep. There's like a possibility that it's actually like a corrupted one from Clavicus Vile, and he's merged with the Hist, and that's what he's trying to do to. Oh yeah, no, it is like super in depth for being a thing that doesn't even have a quest in Skyrim.
Whoa. Well. Yep. Now I know what I'm doing tonight. Dang. No, that's but yeah, like I found myself intrigued by the Hist a lot. And with how much the Hist is a part of their culture, to the point where, and they even have almost like this Buddhist reincarnation thing, because they're like, even when the souls are released, they'll come back. Like all the Argonian souls that exist are all that will ever exist, because they're just reincarnated into new bodies.
The Argonians are freaky, man.
Well,
and their deities are freaky.
And that's why when you're traversing the MC Escher painting and going through there and seeing the remnants of the spirits that are still around, that have died and are, that still linger because of the magic of the Hist and the magic of the Aliens.
Right.
That they're torturing Argonians, trying to find out the secret of the Hist. That's what they're after, the secret of the Hist, the Aliens, trying to figure out how they have this power. And they're in the Frost room, and the guy's like, have you learned anything? And they're like, no, Frost isn't working. He's like, well, try the next thing. You'll eventually find it. Frost doesn't do it, then fire will. And the guy's like, I can't explain it. I can't even explain how they're walking. Their physiology is so strange. I don't even know how they exist. Boom. I got really hooked, and I'm really sad Promethean isn't here, so
I know, because he's our resident. Right, his resident Argonianness would be very proud right now.
Right? And it literally blew my mind. I was just like, what just happened?
Right. No, and to be fair, also, because like the other thing is, I didn't want to go too into it when I was doing it, but when you were in the I don't know, it's kind of like that egg chamber. I forget the official name of it, but like when you're getting ready to do the dream strides to link in, the environments around that just looked so cool with the eggs like built into the walls, like the cocoons and stuff like that, like the art to that. Because, I mean, we've made mention of kind of it being a little on the high fantasy side as of recently, the art style and stuff like that, which I'm not as big of a fan of. That's just not as much my thing. I felt that was a good mix of like a weird kind of dream sequency high fantasy thing, but it was also still grounded enough that it was like, oh, this doesn't seem like it's taking me out of it as much as I usually find with some of the like more bizarre mounts or the skins that are super jarring and
Right.
the amount. You know what I mean? Like I liked the mix.
That's
of it
because when you're playing the Elder Scrolls, especially from Skyrim on, let's face it, it felt real to life. Like this could be a place I could visit, and all of a sudden there'd be an Argonian there. You just be like, oh, why, hello. You know, like. Then that's where I think their art style changes that they made recently is kind of weird. But seeing the Argonian art style being this weird Aztec mixture is really neat. It's really neat. But yeah, no, I was pleasantly baffled by the time I had reached the end of that. To realize exactly what had happened. So, I know at the end you actually have to guide these souls back to the Hist. Who did you end up killing? Unless you had to walk away, which it looks like you did. Yes. Okay.
Which I totally did. I just absorbed a dog into the bedroom. So.
Oh, gotcha.
On the bright side, I managed to mute the headbutt into the door this time, which was there last show for anybody who caught that little bonus.
Nice.
I'm sorry. So
no. At the very end, you actually have to make a choice on who's going to guide it. Who did you do?
So that was why I said I liked Jaxicorn in the end. So I don't know how much you got along with her, because I know you said she wasn't so much your thing as you were going.
Yeah.
So since I kind of leaned into, like, I liked her approach to things, and I was kind of buddy-buddy with her throughout the whole thing, it turns out that she, although is a bit of a psychopath when it comes to efficiency, some of the things she does along the way, you find out she has a really, really strong connection to the Hist. And at a couple points, she gets incapacitated when the Hist would take a shock, like in the dream itself, and like you could feel the pain of the Hist or whatever. It was like screwing her up. So I was like, okay, plead your case. Why do you two want to do what you're doing or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And Zukas's thing was like, oh, it'd be an honor or whatever. But he's like, I think it wasn't even like he said I'm maybe more to the task than her. He's like, she feels the Hist so strongly as well. Maybe you should just do more being alive in the normal world. I'm like, no, I really think she should probably actually help regrow this tree. If this is what you guys are doing, I want someone with a really strong connection to do this, to get this back going. So I did. So I ended up going with Jaxicorn, and I thought it was like a pretty cool connection that she seemed like on surface level of just being like kill, kill, kill. And it was more masking the fact that she actually was super efficient for what she was doing, but at the same time was more, not emotional, but more connected to her surroundings than she ever let on.
Okay.
So, and that's why in the end, when she was like super in favor of doing that, I was like, nope, I'm glad I made this choice. Like, I did end up really liking where that character went. So I was pretty glad I stuck with that character throughout. And that's why when she was my sacrifice, I was pretty pleased with it.
I did the same thing. Mine was a little different for that. I love Zulkis by the end. Like,
yeah, he was the man too. Like, I'm kind of glad he's still alive.
Yeah, and now that he's the head of the Root Whisper tribe, it even brought it round full circle at that point. But listening to their stories and whatnot, and how that she's part of the Nagas, and therefore it didn't really matter. Like, she's like, if I died, no one's gonna weep for me because this is what we live for. You know, it's like. Zulkis, on the other hand, when you go to the Brightthroat village, especially when you talk to the elder's like, I expected him to be the next chime maker, you know, because he has this connection even with outsiders that I'm like, I don't want to lose. I could really care less about Jaxicorn. She can go.
Right.
And yeah, so, and even with Argonians, they get reborn anyway, but.
Right, she's just going to come back as Egg Muck later on, and hopefully she makes the cut based on that other quest.
Well, and that's the thing, when you talk to them, they even say about the reincarnation, going, you know, it's not really goodbye. And he's like, it's sort of like this. at some point you'll see an Argonian hatchling, and while it may not mean anything to you, just know that your soul rejoices as it has met Jaxorn again. So she might not even know that's who it is, but the soul remains the same. And that your soul recognizes it, even though you're not consciously aware of it.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the way they described it. So it was almost to the point where, I guess at that point when you die and you then become conscious of your soul's existence, you were like, oh, I got to meet her again. You know, that's how I took it. So I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed the story by the end. I still couldn't get out of there fast enough, but...
No, I know what you mean. So once I completed all the challenges, with the exception of Black Rose, which I've gone back, I think I'm about over farming that thing. Just because I don't care much for that arena. It's a lot of mechanics from other things, as opposed to new mechanics, kind of just mushed together and then made so that most of them one-shot you, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think I'm about over farming that whole thing, because once we started clearing it, it was just like, do I really want to do this for this style? I don't think so. So I think that's really the only time I've been back to Murkmire since completing it. As much as I enjoyed Murkmire, like you had said, I kind of pieced out from Murkmire after that, and I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, we're all set.
I mean, I honestly can't blame you at that point. I'm similar at that. I'm just like, I'm kind of done, you know?
Yeah, but again, just like you, I was very surprised how that story did engage me by the end, because I think 5 missions in, I was like, woof, they kind of missed on this one, which is a rare thing for the storytelling of the game, where I'm all, hey, storytelling and art, you've at least got that. Like, even if the mechanics aren't your thing, or the MMO thing isn't your thing, or whatever. And that's why I was like, well, this is a rare miss.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I guess it was a rare, slow start, but it wasn't a miss in the end anyway. So touche.
No, yeah, it literally took me to the last 2 of the 7 quests till I was like, okay, I'm into this. All right.
I think I got hooked a little before that. I was on like 5, and I was like, I'm starting to be curious here. And then like
for me, it was as soon as the aliens showed up. Then
you started seeing back to what it was before. It's like, oh wow, this is dark as hell.
It was.
Yeah,
way darker
the enslavement
than I expected.
and just the like casual murder of things. It's like, okay, this is horrific.
Yeah. And that kind of led me back to the point of why the remnant of Argon was even, they're like, it's hidden. They were all treating it like it's this dark thing that it's hidden and no one knows where it's at. I'm like, okay, so it's some sort of mysterious power type thing. All right, I get it. It's a doomsday device like every other story. All right.
Right.
And then you find out, it's like, why would you want to hide this other than, I guess, hiding it from the people who would want to destroy it? But
right, exactly. It's like, okay, wow, yeah. No, it was a very good diversion away from expectations on what it seemed like. It was just like, oh, it's like you said, it's a doomsday device. Yeah, okay, we get it. It's like, oh, no, this is just because it's warped.
So was Vanessa the Argonian who couldn't hear the hiss trying to get the relic of Argon so she could be reincarnated?
I think what she was trying to do was she was going to use basically that, like, them as her attempt at connecting back to the Hist. What her master plan was, I wasn't entirely sure if she was going, because I know she wanted the thing and she was trying to link back to it to use that. So I couldn't tell whether she was trying to crack into it to use their souls to try to just like, okay, here's my connection back to the Hist because you are connected to the Hist, or if she was going to use them to try to instead of symbiotically regrowing the root tribe, it's like, okay, we're gonna do this my way because I want a history again. So get in there and just like jam it in, type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. It was an interesting thing, especially because when she first betrays you, I was a little like, really? Like,
Yep.
that seemed kind of out of left field. And then it was like, oh, okay, you're going nuts because you don't have any connection to your deity. Gotcha.
Which I can understand at
No,
that point.
yeah.
She's more of a sympathetic character than
Right.
a bad guy.
I'm evil for the sake of evil.
But then the whole blackguards thing, because I refuse to say blackguards.
No,
it's
they are
blackguards.
blackguards. You are correct.
It makes no sense. Like, what was their motivation other than maybe money? I think that's probably
I
it.
assumed they were just trash mercenaries, like that she had working for.
Like
I didn't
the broken wheel or the iron wheel was in Thieves Guild.
I really didn't think that. They never seemed like they had like a vested interest in it, other than as purveyor of selling goods. She had a ton of money and could basically hire up small militia to help find what she needed. Which anytime, ironically, she didn't find what she needed, she could sell it to continue her excavation of finding what she needed.
Right.
So, yeah, I didn't think they had like a deep meaning beyond just, we're here for the money and she has an objective.
Well, and they even tied back the earlier quest that didn't hook me when you had to get the Volca stone. Because that was like one of the very first quests. You're like, you got a Volca stone. It's like, oh, it's a shiny rock. And that's literally how they treat it. It's like, oh,
right.
What do you do?
Like, that's neat. Throw it back in the swamp. I don't want it.
Yeah. Hey, we'll just put this in a chest somewhere. That's great.
Yeah, good.
And that's
good
where
job.
it ended. I'm like, is this literally going to be the entire story? And they wrapped that around too. So they kind of got me there. Otherwise, that was pretty much mostly what I did. I got my Dragon Knight to 39 from like 36. I was farming a little bit in Sunhold just because I'm trying to clean out my bags and I still have like partial rune box pieces.
Yes.
So I was trying to farm it on my main, then I'm sitting there going, why am I doing that on here when I could do it on an alt and at least be gaining levels or something?
That's exactly how I leveled my Stam Necromancer.
Gotcha.
Me and a couple of my buddies was just running the Elsewhere ones on loop. And I was just like, man, I'm leveling up. This is great. Like,
pop an XP scroll, go nuts.
Yep.
As I posted on Twitter, I logged on, killed a few enemies, and noticed my bags were full. I have maxed out inventory, so that's like 200 slots. And I'm like, how are my bags full? And I look through, and I have, I do have a lot of stuff in my bags. I generally cover about 50% full at all times, or close to it, with potions and armor and stuff. All right. And then I start looking. I had 87 writs and surveys to do.
That's rough.
So yeah, I spent like an entire day doing that, just clearing all
those
that.
treasure maps and junk too.
Yeah.
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 They just build up.
They do, especially when
really do.
For several months, all I had been doing was logging on and doing daily writs.
Mm-hmm. That's. So you know how you get the login rewards each day? It's mostly junk. It's fine if you're new, and that's been like the running theme is like originally they dumped crown crates, and they've done some things like 100,000 gold, and some stuff that the big thing that has been lingering for a while is they've gotten pretty crappy.
They're
pretty forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kind of de facto log in just because I always like to do my writs at least.
Yeah.
So I do my writs. By default, I get the login reward, which usually I don't care about, whatever. So I'll get... Boots, you're killing me here.
Such good audio until the squeak.
Squeak. But the big thing about it is I kept getting food, which I'm like, great. Okay, so I have this mediocre food that isn't as good as mine. You're killing me, Boots. So I've got those like crown chicken dinners.
Yep.
Which are great for questing or whatever.
I actually been throwing them on low level alts, so I don't have to worry about
that's good
food.
too because it scales.
Yeah.
And then the other one, which I just feel bad about throwing them away because they're worse than my tripods that I can make. However, they give you so many crown tripods, which for trash pots in dungeons, I mean, okay, whatever, they're fine. They do the trick or whatever. I mean, it's a I think it's now 10% less than like a good one. Right. So if I'm doing something obscenely difficult or we're having a real hard time, like that Black Rose or something, it's like, okay, I need every ounce of ability to not suck possible.
Yeah, right.
But if we're doing a normal dungeon and I'm half paying attention, I screw up. Okay, whatever. I'll pop one of those things. From just logging in for a while and doing writs, I think I still have 486 of those damn things.
I'm down
which they only stack to 200.
Yeah.
So it's like that's multiple inventory slots I'm losing to those things. I'm like, you're killing me.
I had 1,500.
Oh my god, no!
I just went to all my alts and grabbed a stack at 200.
Yeah, grab a stack, and at least, hey, whatever I'm using this, he's now got whatever.
Yeah, I'm on a level 5. He's got 200 tripods just ready to go. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, those things are. I wish they'd have a vendor price so I could just even trash them for some gold.
The one thing that a lot of my friends have mentioned, and I love the idea, just in the grand scheme of things, it is not going to hurt their bottom line monetarily. Just let us trade that stuff in for 1 crown gem, like a stack of it or whatever.
Yeah,
they're free login. I mean, that's not going to build up that fast. You know what I mean? Like
a stack of 200 for 1 gem. I'd be happy with that too.
Exactly. It's like what? I didn't do anything to get it to begin with, so whatever. You know what I mean? Like I logged in. It's not like so. It just seems like that would be a good alternative, just so people could get something out of it. Because unless you're just starting out, it's just junk.
I say the same thing with it. Anything you get from the daily login that's a crown should be allowed to be turned in for crown gems the same way you would
as if you
got from a crown crate. Yeah.
Yep.
In which case, they'd probably give us nothing at that point, or they would lower the rewards because we're getting...
Sure.
But I mean, honestly...
Fine, now you get 1 crown potion. I don't care. I'll still build them up because it doesn't matter.
This month has more than other months where it has 2 collectibles.
Yep.
But one of them's just a shield from the Pandari thing anyway, which I think you can probably get from doing the crown crates, and you may end up unlocking it anyway.
Yes.
Because it's just a motif page.
Right.
And then the other, I can't remember what the other one is, but it's a costume. But yeah, I'm not real happy with that. But anyway, I'll go quick on because we're already moving along here, and I want to get through because we had fun with these tales. But yeah, so I was doing that on that alt, and now all I really got to do to get caught up is I need to do the Wrathstone dungeons, which again, I like to go through them the first time on normal and with a party.
Yep. Do the story.
Yeah, because I'll sit and read all the books.
Depths of Malatar is so cool.
I'm excited. I just got to find people to do it with.
You'll love the end fight of the Depths of Malatar.
Nice.
Is all I'll leave it just at that.
Is that the laser one?
Oh dear God, no. That's not even the final boss of Frost Volts.
Okay.
It's a Steam Centurion. Yeah, that'll make you wanna. I mean, normally it'll be fine because you can just nuke it, like you can out DPS it.
Yeah.
Mother of God on Vet. I mean, it's working fine. Last time I've done it, I haven't run it in a little while. It's working fine now, but oh my God, when that thing's timing was off, sweet Lord, that was frustrating.
Right. Well, I have to do that. Then I got to do the prologue quest with Abner. Which, by the way, did you know that Abner appears in the Bible? 1 Samuel.
Really?
Abner, son of Ner. Yeah, he is the chief lieutenant of King Saul.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I have not read the Bible since college philosophy, so it has been a long time. I do not remember. That's very interesting.
Well, going back into it's spelled a little. It's Abner, but it's pronounced Abner, the same way they're spelling their Abner or whatever. But yeah, he first appears in 1 Samuel 14:50. I just looked it up, and he's son of Ner, Ner, and he's Saul's uncle. That's what he is, and commander of Saul's army.
Huh. Interesting.
One thing I note from the Elder Scrolls is that help me out here. What's his name? The guy who pretty much did all of Morrowind.
Michael Kirkbride.
Michael Kirkbride, yes. I don't know if he was like a religion major or what, but he pulled a lot of lore from a lot from Christianity,
a lot of religion stuff,
a lot of Buddhism,
Hinduism,
yeah.
He had a lot of very philosophical. dives for some of the background lore in ESO or ES in general.
Yeah, right. So I just found that was interesting because I was listening to it this week and I heard the name. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I pulled it out and I was listening. I'm like, huh. So, but even when I heard Nur, son of Nur, which is a lot like what Nirn was before, because it was Padme and help me out.
Anu
and Padme, and then Nur, who became Nirn the planet.
Yes. Yep.
So it was just something I put together, and I just thought it was a neat little tidbit that
Mm-hmm.
the name is very similar.
That's very interesting. That one I actually had apparently completely forgot, because when you said that, I'm like, really? I don't have any recollection of that.
There were only a handful. Unless you had read it very recently, I highly doubt anyone would have remembered it. And the only reason why I did it was I was listening, because I have it on Audible, and I was just listening to it, and I hit that point, and I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Because the guy was
the other.
He
Exactly. The other thing that gets tricky too is just with that old style of writing, when so-and-so begets so-and-so who begets so-and-so, it's like you can get lost in the naming conventions of like, wait, who begot who? Like, oh no, I don't know. Yeah, like, oh, wait a minute, who was what now?
Yeah. No, I just thought that was neat because as soon as I heard the guy pronounce it, I'm like, that sounds... I pull out my phone at first. I'm like, wait. Okay, no. That's, I wasn't sure what was going on there. If my phone had, started acting weird. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's interesting. So, yeah, just a little tidbit, something that'd be interesting for you guys.
Yeah, that's actually pretty neat.
Yeah.
Tie into real life stuff.
Mm-hmm. So we have that. And then I'll be on to Elsewhere. So...
There you go.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I'm going to finish that museum thing. And then actually I'll be starting Elsewhere proper, because I've just done the random. I've killed the world bosses. I've done the delves, public dungeons, but I haven't touched the main quest or any of the side quests because I wanted Somerset completed first. So now I'm going to be diving in as well. So then maybe we can, actually discuss it in a couple of weeks, because I noticed a lot of people on Twitter were like, I still don't want to spoil it, but when can we talk about this? It was like, give it a little longer.
Yeah.
It does take time for everybody to get through it. So it was like a little longer, and then we can get to it. But
all right, so Elsewhere's out. What is? Yeah. We don't even have the next patch yet.
No, we do not have the next patch yet.
It's a dungeon patch, right?
Yes, it'll be a dungeon and then the quality of life patch.
Right.
Which everybody's that'll be our next topic. The one everybody's killing and maiming each other over.
Right.
Yeah, so it'll be that, and then 2 new dungeons. Not Scale Caller, Scale Breaker.
Right.
And whatever the hell the other one's name is.
So we don't even have that. I am very loath to discuss Elsewhere until we're at least the next patch in.
100%. Yeah, I like giving... because I always like having time to complete stuff.
Sure.
As is. At a normal pace. I don't like rushing through these things.
Especially not such a heavy story.
Right. Chapters are no joke. I think Elsewhere looks kind of smaller than the previous chapters. We kind of discussed that before. And it's just Northern Elsewhere. Southern Elsewhere will most likely be what we're doing in the fall. For the Q4. But just in general, I'm curious how long it is. But nonetheless, the chapters in this game are bigger than games I pay $60 to buy new. You know what I mean? It's like they're the stories are involved, and then you've got the side stories and stuff like that. They're the equivalent of a full game. So it's like it takes some time to get through those, unless you're blitzing them.
Right. Another neat fact, another thing I heard. Again, Rimmon, the Elsewhere capital, is also in the Bible.
Really?
Yes. Rimmon, it's spelled Rimmon, but it's pronounced Rimmon.
Oh, so Rimmon, but pronounced Rimmon.
Yeah. And I'm trying to find it where it was in the map, but it is... That also is one of the cities that the Israelites took throughout. So, yeah.
Yeah, there is so many weird tie-ins, whether like we realize it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, again, as much as Michael Kirkbride kind of make my head hurt a lot reading his stuff.
Yes.
And I do think he spent a decent amount of his time probably pretty high. At the same time, I think he's probably one of the most efficient people who ever straddled the line between genius and madness, just from the subtleties that are in his writings in the Elder Scrolls.
Rimmon was just northwest of Jericho on the map of the Salt Sea. Yeah.
Interesting.
One of the things that I think that why Elder Scrolls lore feels so good is because it makes almost these subconscious calls to things that exist, and you're just like, you know, it's kind of like nostalgia, but something you don't realize.
Yes, 100%. Funny you say that, because I brought that up on just some random talking about like old games somewhere, and I brought up the fact that as awkward as the game is, I almost have a nostalgia for that ridiculous Shadowkey game. And I think that's why I'm kind of sadistically enjoying it as much as it's griefing me back, because it's so much like Morrowind. Even though it kind of runs like butts and it's an ugly game, but it's got those notes that feel like Morrowind, which Morrowind is my favorite game of all time. So it's like I almost have a nostalgia for a thing I've literally never played, just because it's got that connection that they feel similar, even though they're not.
Mm-hmm. Sort of off topic, but other games have done it. Have you ever played Guild Wars?
No. One of my buddies loved it, so I've seen it, but I don't know I don't know much about it except it has a sort of active combat system.
Sort of. But anyway, there's a city called Ascalon. Ascalon.
Okay.
Ascalon also appears in the Bible. Ashkelon in Palestine. I don't know if the city still exists or if it's renamed at that point, but they essentially took that name and just essentially kept the same thing, but redid some of the letters. That's the other name I had heard. I'm like, Ascalon, wait a minute. And there's an Ascalon in Guild Wars 2 as well.
Yeah, but it's interesting when you have just enough of a connection to real life.
Yeah. And that's why it like every time I heard it, it kind of was like, oh, that's interesting. And then, like I said, I was listening and heard it. I'm like, wait a minute. Now I'm seeing the connections, if you will.
Right.
So anyway, that's the end of our tales, I think. Hopefully I'll get a chance to finish the Wrathstone dungeons. Once I get those done, then I'll pretty much be, because the main or the prologue won't
you don't
take
need
me long. But
right, it's good. It's a decent length and it's pretty neat. It's got repeatables at the end of it as well. It's super easy to do them though, which I like.
Okay.
You can do so. They send you to different regions, and you basically train troops for like the Elsewhere Armada and stuff like that.
Sure.
Super easy. You can just fast travel around to them. You can do 9 per day. So getting to 30, super fast. Took me pretty much no time at all. I was like, oh, I like that. Do more of that.
Right? Yeah. I was trying to do some of the Shadowfen ones that were the precursor for Murkmire.
Oh my god. Yeah, the 150. I mean, they were fine the first time, but when the achievements do 150 of them, it was like big old nope. And then the only real redeeming quality one was the drunk Nord who would tell you bad jokes, or you would tell bad jokes, where we had all those Daedric jokes we kept doing until we basically exhausted all of them. So like that was at least a redeeming feature. Yeah, the rest of that was rough.
Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and move right on into the news. And we've got Lotus of Doom on the news desk.
All right. So I wish I had some papers. I made the joke I was going to have papers. Don't even have papers to click. Yeah. Fill in the blank.
All good.
So we'll do the we'll do the short one about Blades. If you do play Blades and you're listening to the live show or have magic time travel abilities, you can go back to before this weekend starts so that this event is not missed. Blades is doing a 2 times XP event if you go into the Abyss. I believe you get double gold as well, and there's some type of sale or whatever. You don't need to pay money for the game. Like, just don't even bother if you don't want it. It's got enough. Everybody's bent out of shape about that. You don't need to pay anything. It's fine. It's an option, but you don't need to. But the other thing is to if you die, or I believe it's repairs too, they're all cut in half. So screwing up is cheaper too.
Oh, wow.
And actually, on the note of Blades, since I haven't really been playing it much or anything like that, I know a lot of people have gold problems in this, so this actually might be a useful event for a lot of people if you do play Blades. I just maxed out my city. All of my vendors are now max level, so my city is just completely dominating the province at this point. So very, very, very nice. I finally got there. Just squandering cash, but here's an opportunity to make more if you need it. So, should we...
Let's do the skill lines.
Should we get into the skill thing first?
Yeah.
Okay, so they are putting skill lines in the Crown Store, which of course got hit with a wall of pay to win, blah, 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 blah. So what it is, if you haven't seen it, is skill lines such as the Thieves Guild, Ledger Domain, Mages Guild, Fighters Guild, all of these things. Once you have completed them on your main character, just like with Sky Shards, you need to do them first. You cannot just buy these things. Once you complete them on one character to max capacity, you are allowed to then buy them on alts rather than re-go through the thing on an alt. I guess Sigic Order is coming as well later. They just did some to start with for whatever reason. Probably some technical reason I don't know about. But there's more coming for Sigic and stuff like that, which I'm sure they'll make plenty on because nobody likes Sigic. Story's great, quest bad. Again, I'm in the same boat as I was with the Sky Shard thing. It doesn't bother me that this exists as long as you have to do it first. I don't care if you don't want to do it a second time, but you run alts. That's fine. Prove you can do it. And then once you've proven you can do it, if you don't want to do it again, which I get because I don't run alts, that sounds miserable. Okay, fine. If you've got the cash and you want to do it, more power to you. The only valid criticism of this that I do find, which is something we brought up on the show, way back when we said we wish there was a universal journal, I think it's shining more and more apparent. If they had a universal journal, none of this would really be a thing, but you can't monetize that in that case.
Correct.
So I get it. Like, you know, I understand that. I don't have a problem with this. And to be fair, if they want to do it with titles, whatever, just make people earn it on their account first and then whatever. It's as close to the gross line as I'll allow, but you're not going over it because you had to do it to start with. So that's why it doesn't bother me, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I think I'd have more of an issue let's get this straight. I'm pretty much one of the hard advocates for going back to the way it was when it was a sub game only.
Right.
There was no Crown Store. That's never going to happen. As much as I would want that to happen, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
So I don't like any of these things.
Which I get.
But honestly, like I said, as long as you had to earn it, I'm like, all right, whatever. Same with the Sky Shards. I think it would have been a more classy move of Zos to make the Universal Journal. But then, like you said, they would not get near the amount of money. Nowhere near.
And it's an easy, enticing monetization way of doing things.
Sure.
Especially because we are in the minority that we do not run 50,000 alts.
This is true.
Like that, that is the extreme minority. It seems like a lot of people have many characters, PvP specific ones and everything like that. So I do get it. But yeah, on that note, it just would have been a nice gesture had they done a universal journal and it was like, okay, this is just, you unlock it once, you get it for everything. But that's just not how they're doing it. So like, it is what it is.
Right.
You still have the option to just do it. Like, you can just go through and do the Mages Guild if you want.
And I see Doctor Who that in chat says, does this count for crafting skills as well? Because that would be insane.
No. In fact, as far as I know, that's not anything they've made reference to. The ones they mentioned was, the big one that they mentioned coming was the Sigic Order. I know that was like a big one. But for the time being, the big draw is the Mages Guild, from what I've heard in my current guilds. People are like, oh my god, I don't have to farm those books anymore. Thank you, Lord. I know people don't like doing that. The Fighters Guild one, run the Necropolis or something for a little while. I mean, that's actually really fast to level up. That one's not difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly a fan of it, but again, if you earn it, it doesn't bother me because you proved you can do it. I'm very big into proving you can do something. Then if you don't want to do it again, I mean, well, you did it once, whatever.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about the big one.
All right. So the big thing is the patch notes with balance changes to combat. What I would rather refer to this as the complete gameplay combat overhaul, which is causing everyone to lose their mind. So, we're going to, rather than go through this, because I believe it's like 35 pages long, so we're not going to do that. But there's a couple major highlights that we will point out. You can obviously just look at the patch notes yourself. The drama to this all started, ironically, before they were even launched, because they were leaked by somebody. They did not specifically name the person who did, although I do know they're apparently facing legal action for breaking NDA, because they apparently had some type of working connection with them. So this was like a what are you doing type of thing. So not sure what the deal is with that or who's facing repercussions on that. But if you look at the patch notes, Gina Bruno actually addresses the fact that the person no longer has involvement with ZOS and will be facing legal action going forward. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
It's probably one of those stream team or whatever it is.
An influencer or something. Yeah. I don't know. But it's just like, ooh, that was a blunder, because NDAs, I mean, it's one thing to be like, oh, you know, I got the scoop on something. You're not getting the scoop. They're trusting you with something. You signed a legal document. That's not how that works. Like, that's a different kettle of fish. So not sure what the deal is with that exactly, but yikes. Probably not a smart move, whoever did that.
Yeah, right.
But then I do know as a...
we also know Zenimax is not opposed to suing people.
Indeed, yes.
So...
legal team OP.
Yeah, they've got a legal team that takes on Facebook. So okay.
Yes, and then what's more so makes Facebook settle.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my lord. So yeah, on that note, I know they came in over the weekend specifically to kind of get ahead of the problem, because everybody started speculating on like, are these true, are these false, or whatever, and they were like, look, we're coming in. Here's the actual patch notes. Like, they're not supposed to be out till Monday, I believe it was. So here's just the patch notes now. Discuss, do whatever. But like, so that was a good move, I think, by them to just get out in front, especially with the amount of controversy that they've caused. So the big thing is the game is taking a huge shift, is what it seems like, from AoE damage to single target everything. So there's sweeping nerfs across the board to different skills. Some things cost more, some things just don't work the same. One of the biggest ones, healers really taking a very interesting shift as heals seem like they're focused more on single target heals, which is kind of peculiar to me. The initial change is the orbs, to which there was already a petition that somebody put on a website, because sure, that's better than leaving PTS feedback. That's great. That'll probably get you somewhere because they're going to read that. You know how you can like spam orbs for resources? People synergize with them, you get your resources back. They change it so you can only throw one orb, and I believe it costs more now, which that is strange, to say the least, because if it's just like you goofing around, that's fine, but like in a raid setting, you throw a bunch of orbs so lots of people can synergize. Like as tank, if I'm running low on resources, I want the damn orb. Like I don't want a DPS who's next to me stealing my orb if I can't block anymore, because then we're all wiped. Like I get the concern about that, but
but that's just the interplay that a really skilled team should have.
Correct. Yes, and that's what I'm going to kind of make note of. The other thing is they've also changed it, and I think I like the change they have, because again, it's PTS. This is why me and several other people have been just saying, look, just relax. Like, this is the point of a PTS, is to test things.
I feel like this is just... I'm glad they use the Ouroboros as their symbol, because it's like the tail eating itself. We see this, and it's cyclical. We see it all the time.
Literally every patch.
The tank nerf. Do you remember that when you couldn't forever block anymore?
Yeah, when I couldn't permatank. Oh man, I remember when people were like, "Oh, we're all doomed." I'm like, "How are we doomed? I literally don't even need to play. I poke and hold L2, and I block forever. Like that's my game."
Yep.
Like
every 6 seconds, just one more poke to keep the threat on me.
Exactly. It's like, and then if you had a healer, they just throw you shards. Okay, fine. I literally can keep buffing you guys as well. Like I literally don't ever need to do anything. Or Morrowind, when they did the resource change from the CP respec,
when red guards no longer had unlimited stamina. Yeah,
infinity stamina. Yeah, yeah, and apparently the world was going down and nobody would be able to beat VMA, and VMAL was going to be impossible. Pretty sure Hodor did it in like 10 minutes like last month.
Yeah,
that worked. Yeah, it really ruined the game. So again, yes, it's a little bizarre, and it does. The thing is, I'm not sure this is necessarily bad. From what I've heard is in base testing, single target DPS is golden, and it seems like that's being the direction they're twisting the game, is less AoE bombs where the tank goes to the middle and chain whips everybody to him. Not saying that I would do anything foolish like that to eliminate the need for a healer, but I maybe chain everybody to the middle and everybody drops liquid lightning on me. And we nuke.
So you're saying you're the cause of this?
So I directly see how this is going to change how I have to do dungeons with people, which is why I think I kind of understand to a degree some of this.
Well, Mike Finnegan said, "I'm gonna fix that. You can't run that stuff without a healer anymore."
Whenever I've talked to him at an event, he has mentioned several times that there is a effort to fix that. The only thing about this that does strike me as kind of weird is if the intent is to get more healers involved, nerfing healers in any way, since it's like the least played kind of thing, that seems a little peculiar, even if they are skewing them in a direction like, okay, they need, target their heals. They're cutting, some of the sets are a little less buffy. Like, actually, I believe Eben doesn't do quite as much for like that group heal that you get with the red orbs.
I've seen this in every MMO, though. Whenever a healer gets nerfed, it's the end of the world.
Oh, 100%.
But World of Warcraft had the healer nerf, and everyone's like, I'm not playing healers anymore. Final Fantasy 14 just did an expansion, and people are complaining about how they nerfed all the healers. Yeah, because they literally got to the point where the people were just standing there hitting one button and, like, person's like 1% health, full health, 1% full health. Like I see it all the time. I've seen it in trials where I get brought down to nothing, and then all of a sudden someone pops one heal, I'm all the way back up again. It's like, okay.
Right. So, but that's why I'm kind of been referring to this as like an overhaul, because they're changing the way damage is done to, again, much more of a single target thing. It seems like to a degree I might be a little less over the top tanky, and it seems like some of the self healing, like I believe Vigor now, instead of splashing out to a radius, now just affects you. So again,
well, that's because again you had too much healing.
I know, because I would hit everybody with Obsidian Shield when they were next to me dropping Liquid Lightning after I changed everything in, and then I would hit them with Vigor, and then we didn't need the healer because I was makeshifting as a heal. Like that, like
as a Stamina Templar, I did the same thing. It's like,
exactly.
There it is.
Right.
Everyone in melee range just had heals ticking off of them.
So I understand why some of these things are shifting. Like I to a degree, and I think in the long run, this will and make more sense when they explain what the CP freeze is, because I think this ties into what they're doing on the back end, why we've stopped increasing CP. Because earlier in the year we had all of the races get overhauled. Now we're redoing a lot of the combat mechanics, how things work.
Can I do a tinfoil hat idea?
Yeah.
Lag. They're making single target king so that people start shifting from AoE abilities to single target so the computers don't have to calculate as much.
And they did say they were working on performance, so that could theoretically improve performance. That's actually a good point. Like you have less wacky effects going off with, overflowing torrents of lightning every 6.5 inches. And like everybody's one-on-one with their opposing dude, and then tank manages boss, and he can only manage so many ads, so you kind of work with that. That I could see that. Now the one thing that has already
think about
been
it,
changed,
it's 11 players hitting 6 enemies,
right?
But now it's 11 players hitting 6 enemies instead of 11 players hitting all 6 enemies.
Yes. Everybody's hitting all 6, because then you essentially have 66 damage quotients you're accounting for
rather
instead
than
of
6
11
or 11.
Yeah, 11 each. Exactly. So you just cut the amount of those things by by 6.
Yeah,
that's a huge calculation difference.
Yep.
So the one thing that I had mentioned with the orbs, which I do believe orbs still will cost more from my understanding. However, what they've changed to is when originally you had to throw the orb and someone would use the orb and it would burst, and that was the end of the orb. And you had to kind of, it seemed like that was a little strict or whatever. So the new method, which I actually think sounds kind of neat, and again, might feed into your theory on it will help performance. You throw an orb, it can be synergized multiple times by people, but you can't spam orbs. So, okay, that's way less orbs on screen, so it's not processing all of those.
Yep.
But it's an orb synergy that will, when somebody synergizes, it doesn't pop and burst. Now it continues to float, but multiple people can use it. So it won't bother me if I need stamina and also,
I need stamina.
Exactly. You're next to me needing stamina. So like we can both just synergize the same orb and it'll work.
Nice.
And then requiring you to just be a little less spammy with it, that I don't know, that doesn't strike me as a negative.
No, I don't see it either. I mean, at that point, you're not then waiting. I think it'll actually help more than hinder.
Right. So I do know that's like the overview. I mean, like I said, read them for yourselves. They're very long. They're very in-depth. There's changes to skills. There's changes to armors. Like I had mentioned briefly, Eben, which gives you like, 1238 health to everybody in a party, something like that, up to 12 people. I think it loses like 100. The exact numbers are in the notes. again, it borderline just barely keeps you from getting one shot, so it still barely keeps you from. You're either above the one shot threshold or you're below it. Like that's really all
Right.
it is in most cases. And my goal is to prevent you from getting nuked as best I can. But unfortunately, the internet is not seeing things like this so far. It's the world is ending, like we had mentioned. It really reminds me of Morrowind all over again. Mainly in the fact that because people were falling apart at the seams earlier this year with the race changes, but it was a little less vitriolic. People are just being nasty about these patch notes, which is like, okay, people, grow up a little here. Like, one, this is a game. Keep things in check, please. And my big complaint was that people were freaking out before this went live on Monday because they released the patch notes early because of the leak. So people had a weekend to ruminate on this stuff, work themselves into a tizzy, and then it went live. So people had already started petitions on how one orb doesn't work before it was even live on the PTS for anybody to test it. I'm like, okay, this is a reasonable course of action. So a little temperance is all that I think people need with this. And again, that's what the PCS is for. You don't like it, that's totally fine. I get it. Like, I've heard plenty of things that I mean, one of my buddies is all about splash DPS damage on his sorcerer. His thing is like, I like doing AoE damage and just like nuking waves of trash, and then we work on a boss. Okay, this new style is not up his alley, but that that might just be the direction of the game. You know what I mean? So you either adjust, or your gimmick is like, or not your gimmick, but like your specialty is weakening things in an area, because it's not like they're taking them away. They're just not as effective to splash damage a ton of things at once.
I honestly think a lot of this is the players who only ever played single player games don't understand how an MMO works. And that changes happen. Balance happens as the game advances. Skyrim has essentially been the same since 2011.
Yeah. The original way to break Oblivion is still the way to break Oblivion.
Right. Yeah. So I do think a lot of it, I'm not saying everyone, there are some MMO players, but a lot of MMO players have left ESO because it's really not much of an MMO anymore.
No, and that's you're 100% right. It's just enough MMO that we can play together.
Yes.
Which I like.
Yeah.
But if you're much more of a hardcore MMO person.
Sure.
Where it's like that's not as much your thing.
Yeah.
As if it was, like you say, back to veteran rank days or whatever. It was like that was more the MMO stuff.
It was. So yeah, no, I think a lot of it comes down to people not understanding. It's like, why do you have to touch it, Zos? MMOs are a growing, evolving thing.
Right.
It changes over time.
And they're not intentionally making the game not... Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, the point of this game is to keep them in jobs and make money, and obviously they play their own game.
Yeah.
Like, Rich Lambert still has more CP than me. That's ridiculous. Like, on the dude's got like 1,200 and something. It's like, geez, I just hit 1,100. It's like, I can't keep up with the creative director. Like, are you kidding me? So it's like, they do play their own thing. They're not blind to this. So
I mean, I've had devs take pictures of my character and went, I saw you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I mean. It's like that they play this. They're not trying to make the game not work. When you think about that logically, why would anyone try to ever do that?
No, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're not going to make money.
From a business perspective, it's suicide. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, so everybody does the ZOS thing with the $sign or whatever. It's like, okay, well, then if you're on that theory, that doesn't make any sense because they won't make any money.
Right.
And if you're on the theory that they don't play the game, or well, that's not true because they constantly do, even on stream.
Balls! I need balls! There you go, Gina.
Exactly. So there's got to be a method to the madness, even if everybody doesn't see it yet.
Right.
And I think what it is just so much is changing in this patch that it's like, it's not just the healers.
Everyone has something to complain about.
Yes, exactly. With the race ones, some people were like, "Oh my god!" Like nobody who plays a Breton was like, "I hate this patch."
Yeah, right.
Like, "Oh my god, my life is the greatest thing ever, and I am God."
Thank you, Zos. You are amazing.
Yeah. Whereas this is like, there's so many weird negative, well, not even negative, just changes for people.
Right.
On the flip side, they did mention a few things that are coming that are nice, like quality of life changes, like multi-crafting. You don't need to have an add-on, and us console chuds, you can literally just set the amount of things you want it to make, and it will just auto-make them now. So,
by the way, we've had that forever.
Yeah,
with an add-on. So
yes, I'm aware of your add-ons. You disgust me.
Yeah. It's like, how many of these potions are what? 87. Clunk, 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 clunk.
Yes, so that is nice. Apparently, and now that add-on won't be necessary. It's just how it works. Yep. That's cool. Because I mean, some things like way back when, guess who didn't have text chat or damage numbers originally? Yeah, like. I mean, granted, that was like year one, but still.
Yeah, I understand console peasants.
Yeah. Hey, look, just because we're unwashed masses doesn't mean there aren't a freakish amount of us. But yeah, so the multi-crafting thing, very cool.
Yeah.
I like that quite a bit. And again, you never
it
need
comes
to
in helpful
with
alchemy and cooking specifically.
It's cooking. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm going to make so much money just spam making fishy sticks from all the fishing I do. And they sell for $1 a fishy stick. I don't care, because when I make 4 per scun fish and I have 11,000 scun fish, and now I don't need to press square 11,000 times.
Right.
It's like
you can literally walk away and make yourself a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. I come back and profit. So that's a good change that unfortunately has kind of been dwarfed in and amongst all the, chaos and stuff.
Right.
But depending upon, I definitely suggest give it a look through. A lot of the other podcasts are discussing it, have different opinions on it, stuff like that. But give it a look. If you have access to the PTS, try it out yourself. But don't assume it's the end of the world just yet, because so far, what is this, patch 22 or 23? I think this is 23. So there have been 22 end of the worlds, yep. And so far we still seem fine. I wouldn't assume that number 23 is going to do us in yet either.
Right. Nope. And you know what's going to happen is people are going to say the end of the world. They're going to find the new meta or a new set that works amazing. That's going to become the new meta. And then next patch, they're going to nerf that. And then we're going to be, it's the end of the world. They're nerfing X.
They took away slowed semblance. Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Because nobody liked that. And nobody liked RuneCade. God.
Anyway, definitely check those out. Moving on to get done with this show, because, man, we're still
Good
going.
Lord. Yeah, for two of us, we're chatty.
We are. Just, shut up. Anyway, it's a networking and Nern.
Yes. So our networking and Nern this week is actually going to be the first time we do another. We usually make nods to other podcasts in, the whole ESO podcast fam, since we all kind of are friends with each other, getting the word out about each other.
We don't hate each other.
Yeah, we honest. It's weird. It's almost like we're in each other's guilds and stuff.
Yeah.
So this week I wanted to bring up a very long-running podcast in terms of long-running podcasts. It's called a Skyrim Addict podcast.
I think they were around before we were.
They were, because they were original. They did like 8-minute episodes. Michael is the main host. They have a lot of guests on, and yeah, they started with Skyrim right around the time of Elder Scrolls Off the Record, or originally Skyrim Off the Record. So I wanted to give them a shout out. They have a semi-consistent schedule, but I mean their backlog is huge.
Yeah.
they're like 200 episodes in, I think, almost. But they have a pretty unique format. And since many of us have an overlap love of the series Elder Scrolls as a whole, I figured they were kind of worth a note. They do a lot of things. They discuss mods and stuff like that for Skyrim. Even though it's called a Skyrimatic podcast, it's not just Skyrim. They do have some reference to Elder Scrolls off the record, but that's not their big thing. They're much more into the single player ones, Morrowind, obviously Skyrim, and they do a lot with Oblivion. Yeah, I don't think they're that sick yet. I don't think there's many people doing that except me for whatever reason. But they do a pretty cool thing, which I actually love to catch up on, because sometimes going back to older games is easier said than done, specifically speaking of Shadowkey, which I've learned. One of the cool things they do is, and you can get involved with it too, and they encourage you to either write in or record yourself and send it to them as a voice file, and they do feedback sections, and they will give you an objective. You can do a random character roll or whatever. They do RP stuff if that's your thing too, but they will roundtable how they will give you like a quest log. Oh, we're going to become Thane of this, or we're going to do the Shivering Isles expansion in Oblivion or whatever. And they will all do it together throughout the course of in between episodes, and they will recap. Listening to that is really cool because it saves you the trouble a lot of times of going back through the game, and you actually get to basically recap older games.
If only they did that for Shadowkey, then you wouldn't have to do this.
It would. It's gonna leading the charge. So it's actually a pretty cool format that I really like, because recently they re-uploaded their stuff kind of like you had to do. What was it? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Last year? Yeah. Well, they've recently kind of re-uploaded a lot of their stuff too, because when your feed gets that long, it gets complicated. But they've been, they'll go through those. It's a pretty interesting listen, and they get a good variety of hosts to just jump in. And then you also get a lot of the community that you can listen to, so it's not just always the same type of thing going through. Mm-hmm. The only other thing that I figured I should mention about them, because it's one of the things that I originally got in contact with them the first time on, is they have their Patreon, just like, anybody help pay for the feeds and stuff like that. They do once a year. It's usually a little after I do my charity marathon. They do a cystic fibrosis charity marathon, and anything they make over what their feeds require, they bulk and donate to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which is super awesome as somebody who loves to try to do as much charity work for those who need it. So they also stand for another good cause, which is important. I always love when people try to make a note towards something beyond just what they're doing, and adds a little something to it. So yeah, if you get a chance, check them out. They're super easy to find because they've been around for a long time. It's just a Skyrimatic podcast. Their whole thing is ASA podcasting. It's just abbreviated, a Skyrimatic podcast. But yeah, you can find them pretty much anywhere, and I definitely suggest giving them a listen. And if it's your thing, join them on their roundtables. It's pretty all inclusive. So.
Nice, excellent. I think that's the end of our show, ladies and gentlemen.
I think so.
Lotus, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, probably more so than I should actually be there when I'm at work, and I keep getting distracted recently. But I'm at Lotus of Doom. I'm hoping to have something stream schedule balanced out. Just work has been insane on my end, so I haven't had the time. But I'm Lotus of Doom there, except the O and of is a 0. And then I've gotten better at checking Discord, so I'm also Lotus of Doom there. If you ever find me in DCN or floating around the Lore Seekers, or you need anything, just feel free to let me know.
There you go. Anyway, you can follow everything we do over at DungeonCrawlerNetwork.com. There you find links to all of our social media, including Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Be sure to check out our Patreon program, patreon.com/DungeonCrawlerNetwork, if you want to help support the show. You can also support us by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes so people know that we are a real podcast, that we say real words. Sometimes they matter. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Tales of Tamriel, and we'll see you next time. See you later, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
When Akatosh slew Lorcan, he ripped his heart right out. He hurled it across Tamriel, and the heart was heard to shout, red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. The laughing heart sprayed blood afar, a gout on Seer it fell, and like a dart shot to its mark down in an alien well. Magicka fused the Lorcan blood to crystal red and strong. Then wild elves cut and polished it down to Chimel at a ball. Red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. When elves lost Nirn to men, Akatosh gave the stone to Saint Alesh in token of her right to sit the throne. Red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. Red diamond, protect us till the end.